Today we're going to be decluttering my least favorite part of my entire home, and I can't believe I'm bringing you guys down here, and I've been putting this off for months. But I have researched 10 ideas today that I'm going to be using and implementing while I declutter. These are all really great ideas from different YouTubers / organizers that I follow, and we're going to see if using these 10 ideas can help me to declutter this area faster, more efficiently, and hopefully leave without crying. So the first idea comes from the home edit, and that is to embrace the trash bag. And this is an idea that I can totally get behind. And to embrace the trash bag basically means that you are bringing in either bags or boxes into your space, and you are setting up the mindset that you are ready to get rid of some of this stuff. You're walking in with a positive attitude that you are ready to fill up 1, 2, 3, 4 different trash bags in this space, whether it is trash, donate, to sell, recycle, whatever it is, you are going to fill up these trash bags that you have brought in before you leave. Setting clear goals for yourself before you start decluttering, I have found personally to just work. Even if you don't exactly hit the goal, which I've had that happen to me before too, you still walk away from the experience knowing that you did more than you would have if you hadn't had a goal at all. A no-brainer you have heard me say before is that I love to set timers. So I was reading from Brittany from the Lily Pad, and this was something that she also mentioned. She said to set a timer and race against it. So as you are decluttering your space, if you set yourself a 20-minute timer, you are now in a race against the timer. Can I get this space done in a given amount of time? So the laundry room / work room that we have downstairs is really cluttered, and there's a lot of things in here that I don't have complete ownership of, so I do need to have a separate place that I can ask my husband if we can declutter these things. But at the same time, I want to make sure that at the end of my timer, I've set some clear goals, I've filled those bags, and that I can walk away from this declutter feeling like I beat the clock. A timer also for me, as somebody who has ADHD and often can get very distracted by things, a timer helps me to stay more focused on this one task that I want to get done, which is not an easy thing for me. And timers actually help me to feel less overwhelmed because I know there is an ending to this process, and that when that timer goes off, I am allowed to walk away and do something else and come back later if necessary. Okay guys, if you know anything about me, then you probably have heard that I love the minimalists. They are the two men that really started this whole journey for myself when I first watched their documentary. But one of my favorite rules that they have is the 1-year rule. And it basically just means, can you think about the last time you used this item? If you haven't used it in the past year, then you probably don't need it. Now, this is something that's not easy for me if I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't have the best memory, and often I forget whether I used something or not. So in order to make this work for me, especially in this area that's full of things that are my maybe I should keep them items, I'm gonna put dates on them. So I'm looking through things like the plaster and the caulk and the paint, and I'm gonna go ahead and put dates on these. So the next time that I come in here and I'm feeling overwhelmed and I'm ready to declutter this area again, I haven't used this in 6 months, yeah, maybe I can go ahead and declutter this and maybe write down what the paint color is in my notes app, but I don't need to keep this physical item because I haven't used it. This is a great rule for things like hairsprays or nail polish, all those things that, yeah, we can write on them with a Sharpie, and it's a good indication for all of us without the best memories that, hey, I haven't actually physically touched even this item in so many months, it's time to let it go. Lisa from Organized 365 talks about tackling the high traffic areas first. And when we normally think this, right, we're thinking about the entryway, which I 100% agree with. But let's talk about the specific area, which is my workroom / laundry room. What are the high traffic areas, the high need items in this particular space? And if I'm be honest, it's gonna be the laundry, and it's going to be this workbench where we keep a lot of our basic necessities, whether it's things that we're fixing the house with or batteries, tape, all the in between. There are things that we need when we need them. So I'm gonna call these the high traffic areas, and I'm gonna be starting to declutter and organize in those areas. So whatever room that you happen to be decluttering in, this rule from Organize 365 can work for you also, because it doesn't have to mean your entryway. If that's all put together, it can mean when you walk into your bedroom or your bathroom, what are the things that you need to touch and use all of the time? Are those easy to access? The places that I call the zone 1 or 2, they're easy to get to. I can visually see them, or there is very little barrier between me touching and getting that item I need all the time. If you're finding that these areas are not working for you, then you need to be thinking about what is wrong. Is there too much space? Is there too many physical objects between me and the things that I need all of the time? So we kind of mentioned this one earlier, but from the Clutter Bug, she talks about how you should have clear goals. So the clear goals that I set for myself in this particular area was that I wanted the workbench to be cleared off, and I wanted the drawers that I pull out to be more organized than they were when I came in. But because this is such a hard area for me to figure out, I wanted to make sure that I had realistic expectations. So if I can get rid of some of the things in this high traffic area and I can organize these drawers a little bit better, then when I walk away, I'm gonna be pretty happy with that. So what are your clear goals? If you are starting in your kitchen, please don't look at your whole kitchen and think you gotta do it all in one day. I'm not doing that either in this space. So there's a lot more that I could be doing. There's a whole closet that I need to organize and declutter. When you walk into a space and you want to be successful, like the Clutter Bug says, you need to set clear goals that are actually achievable. So if you think you can do your whole kitchen, then go for it. But for me, if I was to say I'm going to do this entire room today and organize and declutter the whole thing, I already know that I'd be setting myself up for failure, and I just wouldn't even want to start, right? So along with all these great ideas that I'm sharing, you want to make sure when you walk into a space that you have clear expectations of what you want to get done in that space, whether you're writing them down or not. So then at the end, you can assess whether you met those goals and what maybe next steps need to take place. Real quick, if you are new here and you want to join a very supportive minimalist community, then please subscribe. And also, if you are decluttering and organizing here with us, then throw a heart emoji down below. So this next idea is one of the hardest for me personally, and it's by Angela Liddon, who's another YouTuber, and she talks about making quick yes and no decisions. She says, set a time limit, whether it's just a few seconds to make a yes or no decision. And as somebody who struggles with memory, this is very difficult for me. But if you're starting out, this is a really great rule to cling to, because as we are going through things like our nail polish and our hair products and our old t-shirts, these decisions should not take us all day. I'm gonna be using this rule in this space, even though it is hard for me, because I don't wanna be in these drawers forever, right? I need to make some quick decisions because my time is ticking. Therefore, I'm going to be looking at items and quickly saying a yes or no and deciding what bag they need to be going in and then moving on. Just like with anything, the more that you practice this rule, the easier it will get and the better that your brain will be able to process through whether these things you actually need or you don't. That leads me to something else that I want to talk about when it comes to this declutter in particular, and that comes from Simply Organized, where she talks about getting help. And I do think getting help when you are decluttering is a very good idea, especially if you are doing a really big project like a shed or you're doing your attic. These things can be very overwhelming, and a lot of times they're things that might not necessarily only belong to you. But I'm also remembering the book, The Gentle Art of the Swedish Death Clean, and she did talk about her husband, and she was kind of glad that he had passed before she started this whole process, because she talked about how he liked to cling to absolutely everything and wouldn't even get rid of a piece of wood if he didn't have to. And so doing this huge declutter that she went through as she got older would have been really hard with him. As much fun as it would have been to have someone there, she enjoyed doing the process alone. And I very much connected with what she was saying, because while sometimes when I do have larger items, it is easier to have somebody else, I am a kind of person who likes to declutter alone. I like to make those decisions, but it totally is up to you. If you want to bring in and have a decluttering party, then what I would do is be very cognizant of the people you are inviting in. Are these people going to encourage you to get rid of things? Or are they the kind of people that probably could find a reason to keep almost everything? And if those are the people you're inviting in, guess what? you're not gonna fill that trash bag. You're not gonna beat the timer. Nothing's gonna really take place because they're probably gonna be able to convince you to keep almost everything. But if you have some really good friends or family members that are already great at decluttering and really feel like can be a good support to you, then go ahead and bring them in. What I personally like to do is with my husband, he is on the minimalist bandwagon now after all these years. He really has reaped a lot of the benefits, and he will talk about how he really enjoys minimalism in our home, but he doesn't like decluttering. He is out of the house basically all day with the job he has as a vice principal, and when he comes home, he doesn't want to declutter the house, and I don't blame him. It's something that I enjoy, but not everyone does. And so what I like to do, especially in the space I'm in today, is I'm gonna have a bag just for him. I'm gonna have a bag of things that I have made those quick decisions and said, hey, we probably don't need this. Like, we either have multiple of the same items, or to me, I just see it as being kind of useless, but I'm gonna let him have a quick decision himself. This is a great idea to use if you have a spouse or you have somebody in your house who you live with and they don't mind if you touch their items. Like, my husband really doesn't care at all if I touch his items as long as he gets the last say and he gets to make his own decisions. For him, he sees it as I'm helping him out, but I'm not taking over the job. This one comes from Clean My Space, which is one of my favorite things to do as well, and that is to have some easy wins. So as you are going into a space, especially a space that you do not like to declutter and you don't really enjoy being in at all, what are some easy wins that I can have here? So as I'm looking through the drawers and I am looking on the top of this workbench, I'm gonna be saying, hey, what are some things that I know I can declutter? They're either things like trash or obvious things that are broken. That will start the momentum while you are decluttering. So whatever room or space that you happen to be in, as you are going through, keep reminding yourself, because she says that's gonna start the real domino effect of, hey, this feels really good. It feels nice to have my space back. So let me keep going with this process. This next one's by Gretchen Rubin, and she talks about that you need to declutter before you organize. And I could not agree with this one more, because as somebody who made that very miserable mistake to make so many times, there is so much money that I wasted on buying organizational boxes that ended up not working because I hadn't decluttered enough, or I hadn't even started to declutter, but I just figured if I threw a box in there, something magical would happen. And it is just not gonna happen. So what I would do first, especially in the space that I'm in today, is I am not going out to buy anything new. I am going to only work and focus on decluttering this space, getting rid of the things that are excess, allowing my husband time to go through his bag. And then once I have everything back where I think it could best fit, I'm gonna live with it for a little while. That is something that finally clicked years later after so many decluttering episodes, because if you don't live with it, you will never realize what's wrong with it. So in this space in particular, a space where I hate to be in, a space that never feels quite right, in this workroom, I'm gonna give myself at least a month to be using it, for my husband to be using it, and for us to have a better assessment of whether we even need to keep all of these things. A big problem that we have is that we do a declutter, we think, okay, I never have to declutter again, I'm gonna go get my organizational boxes. And if you don't live with it, there's most likely still some stuff in there that could go. Before we spend our money on things we later then have to declutter, let's just live with it for a while. So now that we are wrapping up my least favorite place to declutter in my home, we are going to leave it with just this last rule, and that is the 1 in and 1 out rule. The minimalists talk about this very often, and it does really help. Once you've done a big declutter and you have a space that is working for you, obviously things are going to continue to come in. That's the way it is. So as they are coming in, assess, hey, my husband got some new tools for Christmas, or he got some for his birthday. Is there something that is exactly the same, something similar that can go out? How do we make space for this new item? This is one of the best ways to not get stuck in having to do declutters all of the time, but to eventually get to a place where you're a lot more content. If you believe me or not, this space in this workroom used to be a lot worse. And while it's still a place that I often avoid like the plague, it is a lot easier to declutter. It's a lot easier to put things away than it used to be. So I know the power of the 1 in and out rule, because it has worked so well in this space. Even though we have spaces in our homes that are still cluttered, when you start to assess the things that you are bringing in and you question and you send out things that are duplicates, you will notice over time that things in that space do get and stay a lot better. All right, friends, if you have enjoyed learning about minimalism, then please continue your journey by clicking on one of these videos right here, and I wish you guys all the best.